cold and ugly. The dead cow giving birth to a drumbeat. I am. Culture and tradition, girded like loins around civilization. I am a son of the soil, sharing the same blood type with gold. I am Mtsimba and the veld, yanking mouths open for pain and grain. I have painted pictures, you see, with tongues blackened by rage, spiky like a cheetah's in readiness to lick dead prey. Tandla. I am time herself, after she has given up on contorting living into paychecks. The light bulb hanging over solitude, I shift paradigms with ease on paragraphs like pendulums, back and forth between schizo and visionary. I am pollution floating on inspiration, and if anybody asks why, because oh wonder, paradise is never the ground. Create. I have horseback on education, high-fived most geographies to transcend age and coordinate, only to find that the sun only births days, but I am the same song, always. I have knocked language off the cross to get to the wood. Why? Because I spin language like yarn, and if you deny me, well, I will pull wool over your eyes until you turn 180. Rebel. I am a stained mirror, the same one you use to remember and sever ties. I have built glass bridges on top of infernos where the water is not beneath but above. Broken glass shows my many faces, and my many eyes to see many faces. Walking on it is like therapy, the same way a feather tickles my soul to tears. Heal. This is how you are affecting my reality. I am a mess because you exist. Does that mean I would be worse if I did not know you? The truth is, I would be worse if I did not. I am experiencing entanglement firsthand, and it is cold and ugly. Thank you so much for having me. Ngiyabonga Eswatini TV for giving me the opportunity and the platform to share with you guys my story and my journey with poetry. Who is Q? Did you ask that? Q ngoqiniso Ngumalo, who was born in Manzini, but sengihlale cishe all over the place, like all 4 regions. Even though the most time is spent in Hlangano, so I identify as a person from Hlangano. Q is a person who is very passionate about language, and that is lo mnyombo waloku lesihlangene ngako namuhla, which is me and my journey with poetry. Well, I never came up with it. I think that might be the difference. We'll see. I never sought to find what you would call a stage name. Ngaqala kubitwa nga-Q even way before I realized I was a poet. So Q akusuye, people who don't know me as a poet still call me Q. ekhaya mage still calls me Q. High school bebangibitanga Q. So that's just my name, basically. Poetry. Kucala kuba deliberate ngekuthi ngibhala poetry. I started relatively late. And that has to do with the exposure, because mangisakhula nangisasekubo high school, I wasn't very much exposed to this brilliant art form. So even though I was writing throughout high school, my writings I identify as my poems. I was just writing to express myself. And it wasn't until ngifika a university and I met a wonderful friend of mine who accidentally ngalelinye ilanga acele ukuto-crash at my place, wabona some piece of writing bengiyibhalile, and he encouraged me to join what was known then as the Uniswa Poetry Society, and because he felt like lele bengubhalile was poetry, and so that was circa 2012-13. Naturally, I'm a very shy person. Thinking at double anxiety. So lo mngani wami lona, who is is known by the conductor, by the way. Lo mngani wami lona, when he encouraged me to join the society, I did, but being reluctant because everyone who joined the society was expected to at some point go on stage to share their writings. But me being reluctant, and ngazama nekuthi maybe why don't I write and maybe you take my poems to stage and kube nguwe lo semphi bandfu reciter. But he was like, no, that's not how it's done. Like you recite what you have written. So ngagcina begrudgingly ngagcina ngiyile stage, and my first time went well, okay, because I returned. I think if Wahamba sideways, I wouldn't have. I don't really have a formula. I think it's more a matter of I have to do this, and I have to get through with this. So now mouse stage, and what I found during my earlier days, I tended to focus more on remembering my lines and just shutting the audience out, and I literally wasn't paying attention to them. Being focused and was okay, I have these 2-3 poems to get off my chest. I'm going to do it as quickly as possible and go sit down. So I think that helped me to see fana negojove clinic, like we had to see taba buhlungu, but I think two things. Well, it's the fact that I fell in love with the art form. I fell in love with the displays, and the people living surrounding ngabo at the time. I just looked at them as really brilliant minds, and I wanted myself to be associated, if at the least, nabo nalokula bakwendawo, and that spurred me on in terms of ukuchubeka ngiye stage, and also in terms of just motivating me to write, because you'd go to, before kube nema shows, you'd have my sessions, right? And in my sessions, and you listen to people and you think, oh my goodness, and you want to be associated with that. So I think that was the motivation I got le yangenda ukuthi ngachubeka. She was 15 years old when I met her, with a smile like she had never met a black hole, like loss hadn't made her a habit, a miracle. One morning, 8 hours into a soaking Valentine's, she greeted me like a spring sky was in her mouth. Like late last night wasn't wet. 8 hours into an altered world. Emptied when her mother met the rain while she kept from it. A miracle. 15 is too young for no parents, no pillars, no mirrors. To be a safety net, a crash dummy. To be the brightest of two exhausted suns. To be ravaged, reinforced, wrought. 15 is too young to be unspiraling galaxies. Eswatini, and I want to use as much as possible my own language, but I think a number of factors have contributed to the fact that I mostly use Singisi. I have dabbled with Eswatini before, and I have written 1 or 2 poems in Eswatini, and I think that's one of my goals, to get to the point where I exclusively write in, well, maybe not exclusively, but I have a chunk load of poems leti ngesiswati. Subject matter iyaye ingalidi the way kangako kuma writings ami. But naturally what I lead with is what I'm feeling at the time, my perspectives of what is going around me, and what I think or feel about certain situations, and what I then try is to internalize that, almost as if ngiyakufoma mase ngikubhala. So it's never really good to, okay, I'm a poet lebhala ngenthando, or I'm a poet lebhala nature. So the things that affect me the most, and the things that I allow myself to be affected by, are the things that are then reflected through my poetry. Language as a whole is very medicinal. I know for myself, there have been times where I was almost down and out, and I just picked up a book, ngayifunda, and ngabuyela esimeni, even if that book didn't really directly address lento lengihamba through yona at that time, just admiring and looking at a language. So I think I should hope that my poetry at least does that for some people who see I can listen to a poem by this guy and I'd feel better about myself, or I'd feel less gloomy about the world, or well, ngingathi if you do write, then there's something in you already, so chubeka nalokubhala, chubeka nekuexpressa through emagama, through language, and then the second part is it helps when you surround yourself with people who are maybe in the same journey, or if they are not, but bayayibona lento loyendago and they like it, and bayakhona ukuthi baku encourage, even if it's not to go on stage and go and perform, but to encourage you to continue, because an opportunity might avail itself, and you want to be ready for those. my future plans as a poet are to continue being a poet. That's a tricky question because for the most part, me being a poet is not really career driven, as maybe with some people it might be, and for me, I write poetry because I'm a poet, and so my future plans, I guess, are to continue being myself, and if I am able to take my poetry to Spaces launching Eswatini TV at some point, then I'm going to gladly take those chances. So yeah, it's not really career driven. What I would like at some point is to get published, and I am working on that. I am working on developing a collection that might be ready for. Ngekubuka kwami, I think it's more of a geographical issue more than activity wise. Uthi khona alone, there's a vibrant scene in your poetry in Hlangano. I think there are a lot of people from Hlangano who are placed kuletinye tindzawo. Maybe you find someone Sogamanzini, maybe you find someone so Sembabane or whatever, but they are from here. So I think it's there. They are poets and they are from Hlangano. Walk out of palms, prisons, and into police posts. Sing their bodies to matter, the same realm as earth, wind, and fire. Water, lapping like dogs, tired from chasing and not knowing when to stop, thirsty from self-defeat, defeated at these bodies of braveness, beautiful, salt-based like oceans, quenched. Thank you.
These minds have become lie minds, dark with the psychotic ills of deceit. These minds have become lie minds, dark with the psychotic ills of deceit. Doctor them, please. See, envy serves our tech waves into the televised youth who feed perspective through media inceptions that are stung through the eyes, beating in through eardrums, to beat in a band of perfection in their heads that is nothing like what they look like. And like that, insecurities jail our born frees. See, my brothers grip the neck of a blunt like it were a hot pursuit. They inhale to bail out sanity for just a moment and float to the shadows of the shallow and call it a high. A high where pride feels like a legal mandate, like it's some revenge to a world of critics when really no one said a thing. It's just loud guilt. They are stuck in self-hate for falling short. So tell me, who writes for these? Who clothes the naked mind of a broken people? Or do we dip for ink in their blooded tears and write good vocabulary to bask in its appraisal? Or do we encircle the problem and never circle out of it? Are we as doomed as them? Where are the voices of color? Where are the voices of color that will spit paint in a dark world, that will awaken the dull, dead and dying? I'm talking about dancers of the sun, whose noise is a healing piece, piecing back the hearts to its rightful place. I mean, the lands and the seas and the skies aren't limits meant for us. We can go as far up high and as far reaching as we want to. We will elope into a new kind of hope. We will no longer die. Why should we die and take turns hanging our heads on a rope? So to all the writers, we are the stewards of something new until all these young minds are changed. I am always shocked when I think of how infinity times infinity, we are rolled up as a grain of love, the love of Trinity. My mind is always blown away when I think of how you could detect the slightest wave of a strand of hair, that one shot pore on my skin that refuses to budge to heat, you could open it up. That you could dance to the rhythm of my breath in between seconds, that you know the parting of my lips even before words are born in my head. And yet still you pursue me. God became man. God became his own creation, that his own creation might be his own again. We were slaves and he set us free. He has reconciled us to the Father. He has reconciled us to himself, heart to heart. And we can help but be like him. We can help but be part of every beautiful thing that he is. So you can't blame us when we talk like him, walk like him, when we think like him. Are you hungry? Come eat. Are you thirsty? Come drink. We are the salt of the world. We are out there and we flavor personnels and unleash his favor. Are you stuck? Are you bound? Call us and we will save you. We can help but look for darkness and light it up. We are more and more and more. So what makes you think that life is only what you see? When he said that you had a home beyond the frames of time where we don't have to chase it anymore, where eternity sounds like a cousin. What makes you think that you are nothing when you have the power to create from the tip of your tongue? Don't you know that you are I am, the creative force of the universe? Don't you know that you are wonderful, fearfully made, as if his hands trembled when he formed you, as if everything watched as he cupped you, curved you, and kissed you, as if the air went still at his work and he gave you his breath. We bear his image. Out of all creation, we bear his image. Nothing else had the privilege, but yet we hold on tight to the broken edges of mirrors that the world has given to us, such that we are cut and we bleed, and we have equated life to pain. Joy has become a far-fetched fantasy. You are everything that you seek. In you is love, locked in and discreet. Let it out. Let it burst out like a perfume. And yes, it is a fragrance that is first yours before it is for anyone else.